Some moments have the power to alter the course of our lives forever.
In a good way, right?
This is exactly what happened to Mia Collins, a woman whose single vulnerability on a blind date transformed not just her evening, but her entire future. Before I tell you this heartwarming story that might just restore your faith in human connection, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more real-life stories that touch the soul. Your support means everything to us, and it helps these important stories reach more people who might need to hear them. Mia had always been what most people would call successful. At 32, she had a thriving career as an architect, a cozy apartment in the city, and a small circle of devoted friends. But behind her confident smile and impeccable wardrobe lurked a secret that had shaped her dating life for as long as she could remember. Mia had severe scoliosis as a child, requiring multiple surgeries that left extensive scarring across her back and a slight limp that became more pronounced when she was tired. After years of painful rejections and insensitive comments from previous dates, Mia had nearly given up on finding someone who would see beyond her physical differences. The world can be incredibly cruel to anyone who doesn't fit the perfect mold, Mia would tell her best friend, Emma, during their Friday night wine sessions. I'm tired of seeing that look in their eyes, that mixture of pity and discomfort when they realize I'm not what they expected. Emma, however, wasn't ready to let her friend surrender to loneliness. Just one more date, she pleaded, showing Mia the profile of David Winters, a single father who taught high school English and, according to Emma's husband who worked with him, was one of the good ones. Reluctantly, Mia agreed, though she made Emma promise this would be the last blind date she'd have to endure. The restaurant they chose was an intimate Italian place, warm lighting casting a golden glow over the rustic wooden tables. Mia arrived early, as she always did, to avoid the awkward walk to the table where her limp might be noticed. She wore a flowing dress that concealed the unevenness of her hips and chose a seat that would allow her to keep her back against the chair. David arrived precisely on time, his kind eyes immediately finding hers across the room. He wasn't what fashion magazines would call handsome, his sandy hair had begun receding slightly, and laugh lines framed his eyes, but there was something about his genuine smile that made Mia's heart flutter unexpectedly. He approached with confidence but without arrogance, apologizing if he'd kept her waiting though he was perfectly punctual. The first hour passed in comfortable conversation. David spoke lovingly about his 10-year-old daughter, Lily, whose mother had left them when the child was only 3. It's just been the two of us against the world since then, he said, a touch of both pride and weariness in his voice. She's the bravest person I know. When Mia asked why, David showed her a photo on his phone. Lily was beaming at the camera, her right arm ending just below the elbow. She was born this way, David explained. But I've never heard her use it as an excuse for anything. She calls it her special arm and believes it makes her unique. Something shifted in Mia's chest, a loosening of the tight knot of anxiety she'd been carrying all evening. When David suggested they take a walk after dinner to a nearby ice cream shop that Lily had declared made the best chocolate fudge swirl in the universe, Mia hesitated. David, she said, her voice barely above a whisper, before we go, there's something you should know. She took a deep breath, her fingers nervously twisting the napkin in her lap. I have a limp. It's more noticeable when I walk longer distances. It's from the surgeries I had as a child for severe scoliosis. She paused, then added with a vulnerability that surprised even herself, please don't laugh at me. The words hung in the air between them, heavy with the weight of past rejections and cruel comments. David's expression changed, but not in the way Mia had grown to dread. There was no pity, no discomfort, only a gentle understanding that reached beyond sympathy into something deeper. Mia, he said softly, reaching across the table to place his hand over hers, the last thing I would ever do is laugh at someone's journey. Our scars, both visible and invisible, are just chapters in our story. They don't define the whole book. Tears welled in Mia's eyes, not from embarrassment but from the unexpected relief of being seen, truly seen, perhaps for the first time. You'd be surprised how many people don't share that perspective, she said, attempting a small smile. Unfortunately, I wouldn't, David replied. I've seen how people sometimes look at Lily. The stares, the whispers. It broke my heart until I realized something important: those who matter don't mind, and those who mind don't matter. As they left the restaurant, Mia didn't try to hide her limp. When David offered his arm, it wasn't out of pity but simple courtesy, the same he might offer anyone. And when she stumbled slightly on an uneven section of sidewalk, his steady hand caught her elbow without comment or fanfare. The ice cream shop was just as Lily had described, a charming little place with mismatched chairs and a counter displaying dozens of flavors. As they sat enjoying their desserts, David told stories of Lily's adventures, her determination to master the piano despite having only one complete hand, and her dream of becoming a marine biologist. She never says, "I can't," David explained. She just says, "I'll find another way." I try to learn from her every day. 2 weeks later, Mia found herself sitting on a bench at the local park, watching David teach Lily how to fly a kite. The little girl had welcomed Mia with an enthusiastic hug and immediately begun bombarding her with questions about designing buildings. "Dad says you make places where people can live and work. That's like being a superhero who fights homelessness," she declared, making both adults laugh. As Mia observed David's patience and the loving way he interacted with his daughter, she felt something unfamiliar growing within her, a sense of possibility she hadn't allowed herself to experience in years. When Lily ran over and plopped down beside her, slightly out of breath with excitement, the child's next words caught her off guard. "Dad told me you had lots of surgeries when you were a kid, just like I've had for my arm," Lily said matter-of-factly. "He says you're really brave. Can I see your scars sometime? I'll show you mine too." Before Mia could respond, David appeared, looking mortified. "Lily, remember what we discussed about personal questions?" Mia shook her head, smiling at him. "It's okay." Turning to Lily, she said, "You know what? I think that's a fair trade. Maybe someday soon." That someday came sooner than expected. A month into their relationship, David invited Mia to join them for Lily's swimming lesson. Mia had avoided pools for years, unwilling to expose the long scars that traced her spine or deal with the stairs her uneven gait attracted. But something about Lily's uninhibited joy and David's unwavering acceptance gave her courage. At the community pool, Mia changed slowly in the locker room, her heart pounding. When she finally emerged in her one-piece swimsuit, David's eyes met hers with such warmth that the knot of anxiety in her chest began to unravel. And when Lily proudly showed off her waterproof prosthetic arm, designed specifically for swimming, Mia found herself sharing the story of her own surgeries with a child who understood exactly what it meant to be different. "Your scars are like lightning bolts," Lily declared with admiration. "They show you survived the storm." 6 months into their relationship, during a quiet moment at David's house after Lily had gone to bed, he confessed something that brought tears to Mia's eyes. "That first night, when you asked me not to laugh at you, I nearly cried," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "Not because of your limp, I'd already noticed it when you shifted in your chair during dinner and it didn't matter to me at all. I almost cried because I recognized the fear in your voice. It was the same fear I've heard in Lily's when she meets new kids or has to go to a different school. The fear of being judged for something you can't control, something that's just part of who you are." He took her hand, his thumb gently stroking her palm. "I want you to know something, Mia. I fell in love with you that night, not despite your differences, but because of who you are, all of you, every scar, every step, every story that made you the incredible woman sitting across from me." On their 1-year anniversary, David proposed during a family picnic with Lily serving as his enthusiastic accomplice. The ring came nestled in a small architectural model of a house, one with wide doorways, no stairs, and special features that would accommodate both Mia's mobility needs and Lily's prosthetics. "I had some help designing it," David admitted, nodding toward Mia's architecture firm colleague who stood nearby recording the moment. "It's just a concept, but I thought maybe someday." Mia couldn't speak through her tears, but her nod was answer enough. Later, as the three of them lay on the picnic blanket looking up at the clouds, Lily snuggled between them, Mia realized something profound. The words that had once been spoken from a place of fear, "Please don't laugh at me," had led to the most beautiful response she could have imagined, not just acceptance, but love that celebrated all of who she was. Their wedding was small but joyful. Mia walked down the aisle with her noticeable limp, wearing a backless dress that displayed her scars proudly, like badges of honor. Lily served as both flower girl and best daughter, as she insisted on being called, wearing a prosthetic arm decorated with flowers to match her dress. There wasn't a dry eye when David recited his vows, which began, "I promise to never laugh at your struggles, only to laugh with you at life's absurdities, and to walk beside you, at whatever pace suits us both, for all our days." 3 years later, Mia and David welcomed twins into their family, a boy and a girl who brought double the joy and, admittedly, double the chaos. When the babies were old enough to understand, 13-year-old Lily would tell them the story of how their parents met, always emphasizing what she called the most important lesson. "Mom was afraid Dad would laugh at her," Lily would explain, but instead, he showed her that real love doesn't laugh at differences, it celebrates them. And that changed everything. If this story touched your heart, please remember to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more stories that remind us of the power of compassion and acceptance. Remember, in a world where you can be anything, be someone who sees beyond differences to the beautiful humanity we all share. Sometimes, the simplest act of kindness, like not laughing when someone shows you their vulnerability, can change not just a moment, but an entire lifetime.